Looks like I'm not the only one Yuji's gaslighting right now. My boys are pressed. Miyaguni is fed up. Mino was this close to crashing out. I crashed out a little myself in the last video. The whole house is mad. Peak weekly Jujutsu Kaisen is back. Oh, what a time to be alive. So we pick up where we left off, and as predicted in the last video, Osuki has fulfilled his role and confirmed Yuji Itadori is the Kalyan. I didn't think Yuji would pack him out though. I mean, it's a love tap by Yuji's standards, but he's gotta be dead, right? He took a black flash from heavenly restricted bone reinforced by a 20-finger Yuji Itadori. Nah, I'm sure Yuji didn't just murk him. Osuki is kinda tough. I mean, he could still move around a little bit after Yuji poisoned him. Most everybody was out of commission. Bro, am I coping right now? Low-key, I feel like he'll still be alive today if I hadn't gassed him up. I glazed him a little too much in the last video talking about he a real one for inheriting the beef across. Rumble, young man, rumble, I said, and hit and went and rumbled straight into Yuji's fist like a ping pong to an early grave. Me and all the Osuki fans around the world are in shambles right now, not gonna lie. What does cheer me up though is we've finally arrived at my most anticipated fight in Modulo. Awaken Tsurugi Okkotsu vs Dabura Karaba. If you've watched my content before today, then you know I felt I could not drop that video because no one would click. No one would look at the title Tsurugi vs Dabura and not think I'm on drugs. And that's crazy. That is crazy. To my 3 subscribers. No, excuse me. 4 subscribers since we've grown a little. As my shareholders, it's time to have a talk. No investors, you're in an African dinner table now. Most of my viewers are American and or European, and I don't know how y'all do it over there, but on the sanctity of this table, when I get in the kitchen and cook, you do the dishes by hitting the like button. Back in October of 2025, when Yuji was known as Mr. Left Right Good Night, I told the streets Yuji is Kenjaku's new form of cursed energy, not the merger, and they called me crazy. When everyone was talking about Yuji has to interrupt the duel, I told them Tsurugi's got dibs on Dabura next, not Yuji. Again, they called me crazy, and Yuji just came out himself and said he's not interrupting shit. I also told them modular Yuji has 20 fingers worth of cursed energy bare minimum, and that's only a taste of what truly makes him the strongest creature to ever walk the earth. Of course, they called me crazy and wanted to burn me at the stake for that one. Then this happens. Are you seeing the pattern here? Real ones know I have lost everything once behind this highest quality app. This is my second YouTube channel. Shueisha clapped my original to oblivion because I spilled the beans that Yuka was the new 10 Shadows back when Chapter 7 aired. A couple of weeks before Dabura and Yuka's duel was announced, I made a video on Yuka being the de facto Zayn clan head. I got my first copyright strike, then a few days later I re-uploaded a clean version of the same video with no copyrighted content. It was struck for a second time, and in the next chapter Yuka summoned Mahoraga. Now, I just laid out what I can only describe as a generational run. Sure, once someone clicks, the work will speak for itself. But how are potential new viewers supposed to take the package seriously if my own guys don't give it a thumbs up? Why should they watch it if you don't like it? If I were to see this, I wouldn't click on it either. Y'all look unsatisfied, malnutritioned, unhappy. Y'all got us looking crazy right now, gang. It is a strange and unfortunate relationship, but regardless of how good my work is, you are the reflection. So I need y'all to represent the sanctity of our table with decorum. Hit the hype button, hit the like button. Gang, I am sick of waiting for the game to catch up while some AI voice is taking everything I work for by pumping out straight garbage. Okay, now back to your meal. After Osuki had his Chris Rock by Yuji, our boy poisoned Mino to incapacitate him. The ethics of this are morally questionable at best, but this is genuinely the best play. I will get on our boy's ass about this later as we have beaten that horse half to death already. Actually, it could take a bit more punishment, but for the sake of time, I'll assume you watched the previous video. So Yuji's goal here is to maintain his anonymity should he have to clean up after the Okkotsu siblings if they lose. Wee has crows stationed all over the inhuman Makyo, so I'm sure he knows this may be out of his control already. I think he was more concerned with the fact that everyone in this building is a how do I put this? There's elephants tap dancing around ants. They are not the elephants in this analogy. Yuji is in control of the battlefield, so they are safe exactly where they are for now, plus less froggy. Yuji then has a very telling conversation with Mino. So Yuji has known about the duel and the Cimmerian conflict at least 24 hours in advance. We'll spin back on his ass for this later, but we got to see Yuji's conflicted about how he's going about this as well, as he still defers to Satoru if this is what he would do. I cannot say yet if Yuji flat out misinterpreted Satoru's words or circumstances have led him to this point. Yuji is currently unsure if he's in the right, but I'm dead sure he's in the wrong. This is not at all what Satoru wanted for Yuji nor Jujutsu Society. Since we're so interested in what Satoru would want, walk with me real quick. Satoru had all the strength he could ever ask for at his fingertips. Yet when the time came to exercise that strength to save someone he loved the most, all the power he was blessed with could not save his best friend. In his formative years, he did not see the value beyond physical strength. Not in others, not in himself. But after Geto's defection, he quickly learned he was weak in areas of life he did not even know existed. Geto's isolation was not a problem he could throw a hollow purple at. Up until this point, Satoru had been codependent on Geto as his moral compass. When Geto succumbed to his own isolation, Satoru didn't know how to reach him. Geto was the person Satoru would turn to for advice on situations like that. And that right there was the problem. You cannot carry someone whilst they are carrying you. After Suguru left, Satoru came to understand the strength he lacked. He admired Suguru to the point he adopted his moral compass altogether. Satoru came to value and admire that strength in others. He genuinely felt Kusakabe is the strongest grade 1 because he was the kindest. 10 or so more years later, he must have felt like a birthday boy when he came into his two students Yuta and Yuji. That's like cathartic lottery if you're Satoru. Satoru felt that if Yuji was placed in his shoes in front of KFC that day, Yuji would have been able to save Suguru from what was eating at him. Gojo knew his students would surpass him in physical strength anyway. What he hoped was at least one of these monsters he raised would develop this other strength that he felt he lacked. But he had found in Suguru, Hibara, Kusakabe, Nanami, Yuji, and Yuta a special grade sorcerer like himself, but who can conquer the heart as well as the body. A sorcerer so strong that he can save people who do not want to be saved. It was a childish dream, but then again, Satoru was Satoru. This is not an image that's usually associated with Satoru Gojo, but essentially our boy dreamed of Jujutsu All Might. Yuji became that sorcerer at the end of JJK when he climbed up to the King of Curses, in order to reach Megumi and save him when Megumi did not want to be saved. Yuji fulfilled this dream by achieving what Satoru couldn't. Satoru's strength could only save those who want to be saved. Yuji went on to prove this moment of empathy with Megumi was not a fluke, as he extended the same hand to someone who did not deserve it like Ryomen Sukuna. Yuji effectively reached his state of enlightenment. Now that is the Yuji Itadori Satoru hoped for and entrusted the future to. That is the Yuji Itadori the world needs, and the reason Satoru was confident the world wouldn't go to shit if he passed away. Yes, needs, as in present tense, as in Satoru needs you to do your fucking job. Bro! Alright man, let me chill before I crash out. Let me get on with the chapter. I have extensively detailed just how nonsensical Prime Yuji is. Not just the how, but the why. The game is only catching up, so I don't have to partake in any glazing this week. Quite frankly, I do not feel like it anyway. Yuji has got me all sorts of chopped up right now, gang. So we're gonna go ahead and do this all robotic like. Remember when Satoru was training Yuji and he was bummed out about not being able to do spirit bombs, Rasengans and stuff? The first time we see Prime Yuji actualize his vision, Yuji materialized highly compressed blood like a Rasengan and sent it a distance where it grew into into a spirit bomb, letting off dozens of piercing bloods with individual built-in cursed energy tracking. Like Choso's version, it functions like a sure hit at the cost of speed. But it also appears Yuji has awakened his dormant cursed techniques from his brothers. At first glance, this is regular cursed energy poisoning, but the dosage he applied to Mino, even as a window, compared to the sorcerers in the building, leads me to believe there is something else going on here. The timing is too specific, and it looks like the effects will wear off naturally, which sounds like a cursed technique to me, reminiscent of Nobara recovering from Esso's rot. Regular cursed energy poisoning would have required RCT regardless of the quantity. I don't think anyone in this room is tougher than Naoya, nor do I think Yuji's piercing blood was weaker than Choso's, though Yuji was clearly holding back. Noritoshi Kamo would have had to make a life-ending binding vow just to pull this off. He's also mastered Black Flash on command. We know it's on command because Yuji is anything but in the zone right now. Our boy is just as bored as Karaba. Yuji has achieved cursed energy control that rivals the Six Eyes and surpasses Diomen Sukuna. So let's see what we're looking at here. Max output at all times, an RCT efficient physiology, and 20 fingers of cursed energy so he never runs out. Got it. And he's only getting started, by the way. I'm telling you, man, Sukuna is emoting in the Shadow Realm right now on some, that's my grandson. That's Prime Seed right there. Thought I said I wouldn't glaze. Anyway, moving on, man. Miyaguni is fed up. I am curious because did Yuji intentionally spare her consciousness, or did his blood have no effect on her because they are related? Yuji saying it would have been unfair to only incapacitate the aliens leads me to believe he hit her too. One thing is certain though, she's either his granddaughter or Megumi's 100%. Given how annoyed she is and Yuji claiming his piercing blood hit indiscriminately, I'm inclined to go with the former. She has, oh this deadbeat finally decides to show up after 10 years written all over her face. These are birthdays that have been missed we're seeing on her face. This is primordial frustration we're seeing on her speech bubble, and it explains so much about a lot of things, not to mention the irony of Yuji betraying Wasuke's will along with Satoru's. I doubt Yuji understands what helping people means in his own context anymore. If Miyaguni is indeed Yuji's granddaughter, then his goose is cooked, because look no further than abandoning his granddaughter where Yuji's own grandfather poured his all into Yuji. But we can get into all of that during Yuji's intervention. We then catch up with Karaba, and Kashimo's kid is scaring the hoes. Real ones know Kashimo is the original Disgunte, so Karaba has dethroned Yuki Tsukumo as pound for pound the hardest hitter in JJK. Shout out to my boy Zlatan who predicted Karaba would unlock Curse Technique Reversal in chapter 20, and approaching light speed in RCT weeks before it was a thing. I've been reserved in my coverage of Dabura in general because the game needed some time to catch up. There's a lot going on with the Cimerians I feel is yet to be appreciated. Like how their third eye extends their curse techniques to function like a sure hit. This is one of those things that were filed under nobody cares, but that's probably about to change, because Tsurugi Okkotsu has awakened and is now immune to Dabura's inherited Disgunte technique, as well as invisible to his third eye that locks onto and targets cursed energy. Dabura vs Tsurugi vid is up next, so for the sake of time we'll just get to the rest of the chapter for now. My initial thoughts on Karaba's curse technique reversal have changed after chopping it up with Zlatan. He took notes of the debris rotating around the black mass as if reacting to a gravitational pull. This makes sense since his curse technique gives his killing intent mass with light. His curse technique reversal could also condense that mass effectively into a black hole. Light has no mass of course, but Dabura's curse technique gives his killing intent mass in the form of light. I don't think it's a coincidence this looks like a black hole because they eject matter at near light speed. So I'm with my guy on this one. Sounds like the perfect opposite of his regular technique to me. Problem is, whatever this is, I believe Tsurugi will one-shot Mahoraga before Dabura lets it off. Karaba is currently cooking up an S-tier play to make sure it fatally hits Mahoraga. You're probably asking yourself why Tsurugi would effectively kill Yuka if he's coming to save her in the first place. Remember, Rika is haunting the souls of Yuta's descendants. Iori, Tsurugi, and Yuka are all being haunted by Rika at this moment. She was just lying dormant for whatever reason. That's why Tsurugi didn't have to wear the ring. The gesture is meaningless now. The wielder need only be connected to the ring. During their fight with Maru, Tsurugi and Rika seem to have cooked up a secret plan that was expressed in classic Gege show and don't tell. Tsurugi was running out of time before his connection to Rika expires. Maru would absolutely cook him once that happens. To finish the fight, Rika channeled all the cursed energy Tsurugi could master into Mai in a binding vow that would sacrifice the remainder of Tsurugi's cursed energy. This way he can win even after Rika's timer runs out. Tsurugi and Rika say their goodbyes, but if you know Gege, this is where it gets devious. If you've tuned into my heavenly restriction videos, then you know Awakened Zane cannot be held accountable by binding vows. The act of having given Rika up is now as meaningless to Tsurugi as the time limit on Rika's connection. The next time Tsurugi uses Rika, he will have infinite curse technique usage with no time limit. I'm telling you man, bet the house on Tsurugi's stocks. There's more that Tsurugi and Rika discussed that we're not privy to. One of those things I believe Tsurugi asked Rika to go possess and heal Yuka before he ends the ritual. I don't think Tsurugi is aware this also means Yuka will get to keep Mahoraga after she wakes up. As much as I've raved on about Tsurugi versus Dabura since the very inception of this channel, I don't think it's going to be a 1v1 for its entirety because Yuka and Mahoraga will return just in time for a classic JJK jumping. This time around when Gege is done, there won't be any potential man allegations on the 10 shadows. Have you ever asked yourself how exactly Yuji would even reach Yuka from her shadows? It just so happens Rika is perfectly positioned to reach and save Yuka even within her shadows. As much as I want to see Yuji go all out, the Okkotsu siblings may just fix this problem on their own. I am not gonna hold you. Not only are they strong enough to beat Karaba, Tsurugi will be able to undo the curse on Dabura pertaining to his sister with Jacob's ladder. Another thing I believe the community has all fucked up is that Yuji is Karaba's rival. But Karaba's true obstacle is the Gojo clan head, Tsurugi Okkotsu. These are two big brothers that have been put on collision course as one sister has to go so the other may live. Karaba cannot go back to Saimuria due to the curse on his sister. Tsurugi cannot afford to let the duel progress at the risk of losing his sister. They are two sides of the same coin. Karaba is chieftain of the Romelians. Tsurugi is the de facto Gojo clan head and soon to be the most powerful figure in Jujutsu society. In no uncertain terms, these two are the kings of their respective species. Forget all the politicking that happened behind closed doors. This was always the only negotiation that matters. And I cannot wait to see the answer Tsurugi and Karaba arrive at. In the meantime, Maru will definitely need Yuji's RCT after this though. He is the only living creature that can heal damage to the soul. Tsurugi went overboard, not gonna lie. You don't cut your boy's soul when you have a disagreement. Not cool man, not cool. Yuji has the rare opportunity to interact with the younger version of himself in Maru. Yuji could really use this because he's got Kenjaku tenderisms right now. He has turned into a yapper like his father, often talking to himself probably due to his time spent in isolation. He has been so bored that gambling and pachinko machines are his thing now. Wait, a deadbeat, depressed, degenerate gambler. Did this man turn into Toji? Whilst the function is turning up the volume, we're gonna see some slice of life moments we've been asking from JJK since the Shibuya incident. I believe Yuji is about to make a friend behind the scenes in Jaboloma, as he gets acquainted with the Romelians and heals Cross to clean up after the idiot that shot him. Bro, how did I almost forget? Todo is confirmed to be alive. I was irritated at first that Jujutsu Society still can't spot a special grade if it slapped them in the face. But since they did not designate Maru and Cross as special grades neither, just from their presence alongside Karaba, the bar has probably been raised. Yuta and his cabinet most likely revised the grading system. He had Satoru's memory, so the thoughts definitely crossed his mind as Gojo was pressed about this. Also, I found it strange they designated Karaba only as special grade because that couldn't even begin to classify Sukuna and Satoru. Karaba is stronger than both in my opinion. So in Big 2087, special grades may truly be just that, special. I'm gonna go deep in my bag for the next 3 upcoming videos, so it'll take something crazy to happen to squeeze in a chapter analysis in between. Quite frankly, I resent doing chapter analysis, not gonna lie. In my experience with Shueisha, the juice has just not been worth the squeeze. If y'all want more of these, then as my new shareholders, it's time to do better. If my 2 best works get this kind of treatment from my own guys, I can't help but drag my feet a little when I gotta do side quests like these. Hit the like button, hit the hype button. Catch me on the next one, guy.